Welcome to the Page One Podcast, a twice-weekly podcast featuring a variety of guests and thought leaders on topics ranging from channel strategies to tariffs, influencer marketing, best-in-class product launches, and all the details about how to accelerate your e-commerce sales with the big box retailers, or what we call R-commerce. Now, here's your host, Luke Peters.
Thanks for joining us on the Page One Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Peters. This is the podcast where I bring you the best and brightest leaders to share in their consumer product knowledge. I'm the CEO and founder of Newer Appliances, where I cut my teeth selling products, and right now have started a company called Retail Band, where I hope to bring those marketing and sales expertise to brands that are interested in growing their reach on Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Wayfair, and all of those B2B big box retailers that we focus on. So today, I have Brian Beck. Brian Beck's an Amazon expert. And just a quick bio on Brian. Brian has 20 years of e-commerce experience, MBA from Rutgers, and he's a partner in NCAB, which is I guess I'll let Brian explain that a little bit more. He's also the author of $1 Billion B2B E-commerce. So thanks for joining me today, Brian. And it's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. I'm excited to be here and talk about all those things. So awesome. Let's dive in.
Okay, cool. So why don't we start out with NCAB and just let's learn a little bit about it. If you want to give a quick background on what the company does.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I've been in e-commerce 20 years. And during the course of those 20 years, I've run e-commerce at many, many different companies, brands, retailers, and some B2B. And, over the course of my career, have run Amazon programs really since the late 1990s at every one of those companies. And so, it's really incredible to me to watch, firsthand what Amazon has done in terms of their dominance of U.S. and increasingly global e-commerce. So when I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to get more involved and start a business in the area of e-commerce with some partners, really wanted to help brands and manufacturers to take advantage of that growth for themselves. And there's, we see that as a real opportunity for folks like that. And so we've built a whole team of folks to help with both the strategic aspects and then the execution of Amazon programs for brands. And so we're bringing, myself and the rest of the team brings quite a bit of experience in building Amazon programs and also thinking about it, not just in the context of Amazon, but also the broader context of how they're going to market, how they're using e-commerce, what other channels are selling through, et cetera. So we're blessed to have a nice group of not only a team now, but also a nice group of clients that we're working with that are largely mid-market and some larger product manufacturers. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview there, Luke.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. How about the total number of team members so people can get a scope for how big the company is?
Yeah, so we're about 20 people now, and we're just two and a half years old now, and so it's growing quickly. Myself and there's several partners in the business, and we're all the partners are all 20 plus year veterans of this field, and so bringing a lot of experience during 20 years, you learn a lot what to do right and what not, right?
100%. And and we share a lot of similarities on the background just because, I've been working with Amazon along the way for many of those years, selling products into it.
Yeah.
And so, definitely thrilled to have you on the show. And for the audience, one thing I just wanted to bring up is, so a lot of the podcasts are going to be focused on those big box retailers. And that's where Retail Band is able to help you guys grow your businesses on Home Depot and Wayfair and all that. And I thought this episode was really, really interesting because Brian, obviously everybody has to start with Amazon or is focused on Amazon. And that's where Brian's going to bring a lot of his knowledge and can answer a lot of those questions. And whatever your strategy might be, as a consumer brand, whether it's reviews, a lot of those things are, you're going to be putting those across all of your channels. I got some great questions here that'll hopefully dive into these strategies and give the listeners some valuable insights.
Yeah.
And so that's great. So we have a background on the company, and that it's incredible. In a couple of years, you've grown it to 20 heads. So that's great. And why don't we start at the very beginning? Because, pre-call, we were talking about what you guys do, and you start first with Amazon strategy. And I thought, that's an interesting question because I think one of the things you said is, hey, do you guys, does a brand want to sell on Amazon to start with, right? So why don't you kind of walk me through that strategy and what brands should be thinking?
Yeah, no, great question, Luke. I do a lot of speaking at conferences and these types of things, webinars and podcasts about Amazon. And again, one of the reasons we started the business, Amazon. One of the most incredible facts, regarding Amazon is the amount of search volume that's now starting there. And if you think about where we were even 5 years ago, where Google and retail sites were a primary place people went to search for products when they had product intent. Amazon is now responsible for close to 70% of product search, and I know that varies a bit by category. In home furnishings, Wayfair, for example, gets a lot of search. But overall, when you look industry wide, Amazon is just really taken control of a lot of product searches. And as a result, that challenges traditional notions of brand, how you build a brand, how you retain loyalty, how people are finding product, and even your very relevancy. So as you think about, having a presence in places where the consumer is, right? It's important for you to have some form of Amazon presence and strategy. And, for a brand or a branded product manufacturer, our point of view is that those companies really do need to have an Amazon presence. And frankly, what you're doing with an Amazon presence is you're meeting the customer where they are. The consumer has more power than really ever before. I call it, in my book, I call it the age of commerce transparency, and it's the power has shifted really away from marketers and really to the hands of the buyer. Whether you're B2C or B2B, whoever you're selling. And so, as a brand, to stay relevant, it's important for you to have that presence. And I also argue that if you're differentiating based on your product itself, right? Your product is what you are best in the world at as a product manufacturer. You really ought to be on Amazon because, frankly, it's just a shift of purchase preference. It's a search engine and purchasing transaction channel, right? So if your product stands on its own and the buyer understands that, hey, I got this product, this is a new rare product, I'm going to, and I recognize it as such, Amazon is really facilitating the transaction. Now, there's some categories where products are more commoditized and that argument doesn't hold up quite as much. But if you're a product manufacturer, we believe that you ought to be on Amazon and really controlling your destiny there because of that search volume. And if you're a different form of business, if you're a retailer or a distributor or reseller of some type, you still have to be paying attention to Amazon. And I'd argue that you still need a presence there, at least with your private label products, to understand and learn from what Amazon's doing and to retain your brand, a brand presence for your own company and what you do. So, there's a mix of arguments for being on Amazon, and it kind of depends what kind of business you are. But, certainly for branded product manufacturers in most categories, we believe there's a very strong argument to be all in on Amazon. Does that make sense, Luke?
It makes 100% sense, and agree with those points there. And even just, a lot of times people will say, Amazon, you have to think of it almost as like from an SEO perspective, they're kind of the new Google. And if you're not there, you're gonna lose a lot of eyeballs. So I think that's exactly read into the lines. But so let me just kind of pepper you with a couple of questions here.
Sure.
Because these are, and I'm curious about these myself, by the way, because we're actively doing this. We're selling our brands into these sites. So one thing that I've noticed with Amazon, there's a lot of things we can get into some of the counterfeits and some of those challenges. But let's start with this one, because this is one where the margins with some of the things with AMS. It seems like, they're chipping into the retailer or to the brand margins. So I'll ask that question, but also kind of before I get there, another challenge and everything about Amazon, their size and the volume, it's all there. So it's all great, but the challenge is also, it's really hard to stay at the top sometimes in any of the competitive categories, because there's so many different ways that people can come in from behind, whether they want to overspend or dump on price, or Chinese factories themselves come in there. So kind of retaining that top position has become harder and harder and harder. And so curious your thoughts on those two questions about margin decline and also retaining the top positions and how brands should kind of think about that.
Yeah, no, great questions, Luke. It's funny. I like to say Amazon has the perfect business model.
Yep.
You think about it. I mean, gosh, they've got the transaction. They're the search engine. They make profit on a variety of services around it. And now advertising, they are the, I believe, third largest advertising channel behind Google and Facebook now digitally, in the U.S. at least. And so, right. So you list your product there among 600 million others. They're close to that number now.
Yeah.
And gosh, then you got to pay to make it, visible. Wow. So margin erosion, 100%. This is something that, we work with all the time, and it requires a level of management on the advertising side that is approaching what Google is in terms of its complexity and tightness of management. It's all about the data, and what you're seeing is to be effective in Amazon, you need more and more expertise. More so than you used to. And so it's, managing campaigns within Amazon, has become, very much a science and a skill set. And it's one that, we obviously know because we hire people that have it or develop it and train people into doing it. And so it's so retaining your visibility, in some ways it's like Google. I mean, it is, you alluded to SEO earlier. You have, which is search engine optimization. You've got the same concepts in Amazon that have existed in Google for years, which is, you've got paid marketing, you've got SEO or search engine optimization, which is showing up in the searches naturally. And there's a whole series of things that you would pull and push in order to do this. And so when you're a new brand, what we're seeing is the sandbox is longer. It takes longer to get yourself into a position where you are, becoming visible on Amazon. You have to establish your foundation correctly, make sure your content is excellent, generate product reviews, and then and use paid search as a way to get there. Sometimes we'll work with our clients to, a lot of our clients will have multiple channels they sell through. So we'll work with them to use some of those other channels to help drive up the initial visibility on Amazon, including, using email outside of Amazon to send people to Amazon to buy, letting people know that the product's available on Amazon. Again, if folks know it's there, they're more likely to purchase it. You need to really start that volume of reviews coming to your product. That's one of the most critical things you can get on Amazon to help you with visibility. So there's a variety of tactics, and it's looking even beyond what Amazon offers you in and of itself. Because what we find is as you build volume and brand recognition across all of your channels, your Amazon sales will lift. I have a client, for example, that lists products with QVC, right? So they go on air with QVC. Whenever they go on air with QVC, their Amazon sales spike. Why? Because Amazon is even though QVC is looking to obtain the sales, Amazon is a preferred transactional method for many people, and so they go on Amazon and make the purchase, even though QVC aired the product. Now, QVC doesn't like that too much.
I can see that.
But it speaks to the consumer preference and in terms of transaction. Amazon's at 100 million Prime members, or 110, I think, million Prime members. It's insane. So it is a vehicle for that. So we think about it inside of Amazon, but also outside of Amazon. Does that make sense?
Total. It makes perfect sense. And I guess just directly because this could be a hard question to answer, but I guess in general, do you think that brands now are going to have to settle for less margin, or like, let's say compared to 3-4 years ago, or are brands going to just have to reset things and they're going to have to say, okay, we're going to have to kind of raise our selling price and build. I mean, I know they have to do this to an extent, but are they able to raise their selling price, build in the AMS and the different cost to sell on the platform and still end up with an equivalent margin to a couple years ago? Or do you think the overall trend is that the margin is going to continue to be squeezed a bit?
Well, I think you're going to, a couple things. So I think AMS is going to continue, Amazon marketing, advertising. is going to continue to become more expensive. We saw that with Google. 15 years ago, we could advertise on Google for the brands that I was, running e-commerce for, and we would get a nice return, a 10-to-1 return. In Amazon, in some categories, you can still do that, but in some, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get those kinds of returns. Many cases, it's 3-to-1, sometimes less. It depends on the strength of your brand. So I think to some degree, margin erosion is somewhat inevitable. But I would tell you that, and this is the reason that we believe that product manufacturers really ultimately will manage their own sort of Amazon presence through what's called a third-party program versus selling wholesale to Amazon. If you're a product manufacturer, you maintain, by selling to the end buyer, the end consumer, you maintain a tremendous amount of margin. And, typically in categories like apparel or footwear, where we do some work, and even others in the B2B side, those margins can be 60, 70, 80% from retail down to your wholesale costs. And so there's room to move there. And what's called a third-party marketplace program, where you own the Amazon account, you're getting the entire retail price, minus, of course, some Amazon fees, but you're getting the entire retail price. And you also control the pricing. And so with companies that we see a lot of companies shifting their approach to that approach to selling on Amazon versus selling to Amazon as a wholesaler, which is called first party or vendor central selling. And so we believe that a lot of folks branded product manufacturers will end up there. Now, if you're a retailer or a reseller with 20 or 30 points of margin, it becomes much harder. And in some cases, you're not making anything. So that's why it's more of an assortment question. If you're in that situation where you're reselling product, what assortment is right for Amazon, and it won't be the entire catalog most likely. So does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's helpful that you threw the margin percentages out there, because you're absolutely right. If you have really, really thick margins and you're in 60, 70%, then, because Seller Central can be, via FBA can be pretty expensive, but if you're starting with that amount of margin, then you're going to be just fine. Let's talk about a specific case. A lot of the listeners, my brand included, they're larger products. So compact appliances in this case. We can do Seller Central. Storage becomes very expensive.
Sure.
Vendor Central can make a lot more sense because they're taking on the inventory, but then of course they can disrupt the market. Any thoughts on that, or how people should kind of weigh the two different sides?
Great question. So I talk about third party, and of course there's cases where using Fulfilled by Amazon or FBA becomes untenable because of the shipping costs. And so I think you're describing it, right? So, appliances or compact appliances, I'd imagine your shipping costs are enormously high. So there's a couple of methods to look at there. One is, of course, fulfilled by merchant, in which case you fulfill the product yourself from your own stock and inventory. You control the retails if you're doing a third-party program, and 3P or Seller Central, right? Those are all the same thing. And so you're able to manage your retails. You don't have the markdown risk that you have if Amazon takes ownership. But from a shipping perspective, you manage it on your own account, and you can charge for shipping in Amazon as well if you'd like to. But we do see that the issue there is you're not Prime eligible if you're shipping in your own account in most cases, from your own facility. And so you'll need to account for that, and you might charge for shipping, or you could potentially offer free shipping. The issue we see is that non-Prime eligible products do not convert nearly as well as Prime eligible products do. So 3 to 4 times less than a Prime eligible product, the equivalent. So one way to solve that is by looking at third-party logistics providers that participate in Amazon's. There's a program called Seller Fulfilled Prime, which Prime certifies warehouses, either your warehouse or a third party's warehouse, to ship products with the Prime badge. And there's certain criteria that have to be met. In fact, that program is in a bit of flux right now, and that it may not continue in its current state. But there are third-party warehouses available to do that sort of thing. We actually have clients that have certified their own warehouses as third-party, as a Seller Fulfilled Prime, distribution centers. And so that's another way to get around that issue.
Yeah, and tell me more. What do you know about that? Because that's near and dear to us. So what in some of our listeners. So in what could be going away with Seller Fulfilled Prime? Is there something that they've announced?
Well, not really. What they've announced is that it's not currently accepting new applications, right? But under the covers, what we believe is going on there is that they've had some issues with sellers not meeting their customers' expectations, dropping the ball basically on Prime. And one of the things that makes Amazon tick, and it really remains core to the business. I'm amazed they've been able to stay this focused, but is the focus on the customer and the customer experience and making sure they're delivering for the customer. And so I raise that because when a program doesn't meet the customer's expectations, Amazon looks at other alternatives. They're not afraid to fail, but they do react to what's happening in reality. And so our belief is that there'll be a significant shift in the way that program is approached, and it may not continue in its current form. In fact, it's likely that we'll see something that's more similar to Amazon deploying its own physical assets into warehouses of third-party sellers to get closer to what's happening to mitigate the risk of that. So if the program does continue in its current, it'll be probably in a different form. So that, again, Amazon will prioritize that customer experience above just about anything else at the company because that's what's made them so successful.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. And thanks for the insights there, because for the larger products, there's a number of ways. One can work with a 3PL that's certified as Seller Fulfilled Prime. They can convert their own warehouse, and like you said, I guess maybe they're not accepting new applications for that right now. Or there's other partners that I don't even know the right way to describe them, but other companies that are kind of have a reseller model with multiple warehouses throughout the country, kind of like a distributor, I guess, where you'd get your product in, and then they would run, the equivalent. They wouldn't be FBA, but your product would be Prime because it'd be in multiple locations. So those are the options, I guess, for the larger products.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about reviews. So reviews is super important across all platforms, across, the Wayfairs and the Walmarts, but obviously it starts on Amazon, and, a lot of folks have used, say, Vine, or they'll just drive reviews. Maybe when they launch a product, it might be friends and family, or it might really just be driving volume on that product so that, you get a lot of velocity on it. But Amazon has kind of pulled back on ability to solicit reviews, right? Sure. There's been a lot of changes there. Yeah. Let's do a deep dive on reviews. I'd be curious to hear the different strategies and how people should think about generating reviews quickly on products.
Well, so first and foremost, we believe that you need to be quote unquote white hat with reviews. What the heck does that mean? It means that you need to authentically generate reviews from real business buyers and not try to game the system. We see sometimes sellers will opportunistically try to generate reviews, and we've even seen bad actors writing bad reviews on competing products. I mean, there's some nasty stuff that happens on Amazon, and it's happened to some folks we've worked with, and so there's reviews, and the reason there's incentive, right? I mean, with reviews comes volume, comes rank, comes volume, and so you get bad actors in there writing, hiring people to write bad reviews on competitive products, write positive reviews on their products, and they shoot up for a while. Amazon, of course, hates it, but they also make it very hard for companies to remove reviews from products, or there's a report abuse button, but that only does so much. Now, Amazon's aware of this. This is a big PR issue for them. So, they do take action. And they have taken action for some of our clients in the past when there's been clear evidence of these things. So all that said, let's put the bad actors aside for a moment. The Amazon really has reduced the ability for you as a seller to solicit reviews from your customers. In fact, they've recently turned off the ability to email customers to ask them for reviews. There's a whole variety of things that what they're trying to do is really make sure that the review content is authentic, that it's not gamed. It's like the Google of the old days where people used to game the search engine algorithms to get higher rank. It's the same idea, and people have taken advantage of it, and Amazon's very sensitive to it. So what's our advice? Well, take advantage of Amazon's programs, and we do this for our clients. We're going to take advantage of mine. We're going to take advantage of the early reviewer program, which will get you, your first 5 reviews, and you pay a fee for it. Those are things that you want to be doing as a seller. But really, these days, we find it is about driving volume on your products and driving authentic review from verified purchasers on Amazon. And the way to do that is, kind of the things we've been talking about. Great content to start. It's about using Amazon's marketing tools to drive volume on your product, but also looking outside of Amazon. And, it may be counterintuitive to a seller, but send some volume to Amazon. If you have other selling channels, I was on the phone earlier today with a seller who was saying, gosh, I've got this big email list and, I've got an e-com site, but I can't get my Amazon review content up. I said, well, why don't you think about letting your customer base know, hundreds of thousands of emails, let them know you're selling on Amazon. And, it may be something you do for a while to help you drive up the review count and get some sales there. It'll cost you more than it costs you to sell it on your own website. But guess what? Once you're there at Amazon, you're going to start seeing some more volume come from not that email list, but from other places, the native organic traffic. It's on Amazon looking for your product category. So the challenge of product reviews today on Amazon, you have to think out of the box in terms of generating it, and don't think black box, think white, and target that way. Particularly if you're a real brand and a real company, not trying to shortchange the system. Don't try to cheat it. It'll end up biting you.
Yeah, you don't want to get your Amazon account turned off.
No,
and then,
no, you don't. That's right.
I'm with you 100%. So, and it's interesting. I think they've made a couple changes recently, and I just talked to 2 guys about this. One of them is successfully using Facebook ads and driving sales on Amazon. And another one I talked to said that Amazon just, maybe they're in beta or maybe they approved it for sure, I guess on the seller side, where you can now track the ROI. So I'm not sure how this works, but you're able to, I guess, drop a pixel in somewhere on the back end of your Amazon account or just, whatever marketing platform you're using, but in this case, Facebook, you're able to now measure the ROI. And in some cases, I'm not kidding, they were saying they were getting a higher ROI from some of that targeted Facebook advertising than they were from AMS. So I thought that was really interesting.
Well, here's the big difference, right? I've advertised on Facebook and Google and now Amazon for years. I was doing Google and social media advertising, 10, 15 years ago. Well, Facebook wasn't around that long ago. But the point is that I've done a lot of advertising in those channels. And I will tell you that the structure and the tools that a Google and a Facebook give you to, as an advertiser, to be effective, go beyond what Amazon provides. And, so I'm not surprised to hear that. Look, Amazon converts at an extremely high rate. A Prime member converts 70% of the time when they go to Amazon. 70%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
When I was running e-commerce at Pacific Sunwear or Harbor Freight Tools or these different companies where we had conversion rates of 2 and 3% on our website, not 70.
Yep.
Gosh, if I could target the traffic the way Facebook lets me, or even Google to some degree, but then send them to a page that converts at 70%, that's a recipe for success. So I'm actually not surprised to hear you say that. And Amazon's introducing tools that will allow the marketer to more effectively use data, as you were describing, to make those marketing decisions. They're still more closed than some of the other networks are, as it relates to AMS transparency. But if you combine those things, gosh, you can really be effective. So I think it's on the marketer now to start using those tools and using Amazon together with some of these other digital channels to really drive results. You got to think beyond Amazon.
Yeah, and thanks for getting so deep on that, Brian, because that this is the most interesting stuff to talk about, and I think the most useful. So kind of on that, so we've gone through, the reviews and talked about different ways to utilize Amazon and different trends, vendor versus seller, all of those things. What would let's try to kind of narrow it down, something really helpful for the listeners here. What are 3 specific areas or, things they could do right away or big takeaways? If we just kind of had to narrow it down to 3 items you want to kind of point the listeners to, on Amazon to sell their products, where would you go?
Well, I would first make sure, I always like to remind people that the foundation is really important. And so first and foremost, I would recommend that if there are, this assumes you're selling on Amazon, that they take a hard look at how they're, is the foundation really, truly solid? What's your conversion rate on Amazon? If you're a third-party seller, you can see that. And, if you're not, depending on your price points, if you're not in it kind of varies, but 10, 15% range, and you're at a modest price point, you guys might be a little different given your price points. But, you need to take a look at, are you presenting your content in a way that really connects with the customer? Look, merchandise, in the old days in Amazon, you could put up products with very limited description and not compelling images and not compelling titles to get away with it and get conversions. But the marketplace has gotten so, competitive that it's really bringing those merchandising approaches and really making sure your content is foundationally there. You have to now stand out from the competitor. So first and foremost, it's looking at the foundation of how you're speaking about your product and the content. Print out your pages or just look at them on your screen against the competitors, against the top sellers. There's tools you can implement to see how good your content is. So take a look at those things and look at the foundation first. So number one is that. Number two, I would suggest that you've got to be looking at all the new tools that Amazon provides you to sell. For example, Amazon Business. If you are selling products that a business might buy, Amazon Business is one of the best kept secrets in Amazon in the sense that a lot of sellers don't know it's available to them, and it's over 10 billion in sales now. If your products have a business purpose at all, you ought to be making sure you're listing your products on Amazon Business. So I think that's an example of a tool that you want to make sure you're using. Amazon is not shy about sharing these things once they're out of beta, and so making sure that you're looking for those tools. And then third, I think you've got to be looking outside of Amazon, as we've been talking about. I think you've got to be thinking about Amazon not just as Amazon, but how does it fit into your overall marketing program, your other marketplaces, as you've described some of the ones that you guys work on, Luke, and how does it fit into that overall program, and then really making sure you're using your learnings across those different tools as well. And so, I think it's a broader context. I don't think you can think about Amazon in a silo anymore. It's got to be, like my QVC example, or like you talked about with social media. It can be a transactional channel that's fed by other methods, even if it feels a bit non-intuitive to use Amazon versus your own site. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, those are great points, just because they're not the typical ones that everybody talks about. So you gave something. Right. Yeah, you gave. Usually it's. All the content and getting reviews and all those things are table stakes, and those are important. But I think thinking about the overall strategy and then talking about Amazon Biz is a huge one. Yeah. And everybody else all the other retailers are trying to do the same thing. I mean, they're not at the scale of Amazon. Wayfair, for example, has the same thing with the Wayfair Biz, mm-hmm. and then Home Depot has their professional side, and yep. They're trying to compete with people like Grainger, and so it's a huge segment out there for all of them, and kind of like you mentioned, a lot of people aren't aware of it, so it's could be low hanging fruit for a lot of folks who are not currently participating there. Yep. So
absolutely.
And then I guess just really quick, and I know and I'm always. You always have to come into these things with an optimistic viewpoint, in the sense that, listen, businesses, there's always going to be challenges. And so like right now, a lot of the challenges with Amazon, or two of the big ones, there's so many with the reviews. You brought up that we could have done a whole episode on fake negative reviews, which is, really. It's a huge pain point. But let's talk about Chinese companies coming directly, selling on Amazon. And then the second part is Amazon white labeling, or just, Amazon just serving their own brand and then placing that obviously at the top of the listing. So those are two challenging areas for certain product categories. I don't know if you've run across that, or if you have any thoughts on those.
Absolutely. Sure. So, take the second one first. Amazon has somewhere around 400, it might be more than that now, private label brands that they're either sourcing exclusively or have brought out, under their own brand name. It's for example, in the apparel category, they've got, I think, about 30 brands at this point, Mark and Row, a bunch of others. They've got Amazon Basics. And yeah, and in the furniture category, of course, they've got several too. I think it's Stone and Beam, I think is one of them, something like that. So what does that mean? Well, you got to remember who Amazon is. I mean, they're after making sure they're delivering the best product to their customer. And so for a seller, and it gets back to, from our point of view, what are you best in the world at? Are you truly investing in your product? Is that, and it's amazing that, if you look at, Bezos, I've studied the guy and I really admire what he's built there. And, he has quotes about, hey, the power has shifted, right? It's no longer about shouting about your product. It's about our marketing. It's about the product or the service itself. So get down to the fact that, what differentiates your product, and focus on your product. And if you're doing a good job focusing on your product and bringing value to the customer through your product, you're going to be okay. If your product is a commodity, and it becomes much more difficult. So, batteries or iPhone cables, there's ways to differentiate in those categories as well, but it's harder, right? And so Amazon, we believe, will continue to invest in products that where they feel they can bring a better value to the customer than the market currently does. And so again, I challenge it and throw it back to the seller to say, are you looking at your product? Is that where your differentiation is? And if it isn't, it better be something else. Whether that's the service level behind it or something else. But boy, that the product really needs to stand out. And so I think you're going to continue to see that. I think, Amazon will position its products. If it believes its products are the best value to the customer, they're going to continue to promote their products in ways that, may be uncomfortable for sellers on Amazon. And unfortunately, that, for the seller, that if they're not focused on their product, Amazon may win that business. So that's kind of our point of view. We see that when the product is differentiated, like a lot of our clients' products are, they stand on their own. And if we're doing a good job, with the foundations of blocking and tackling marketing and content, it'll show up and people will buy it. And then they'll write great reviews about it. And so the second part of your question, Luke, was around Chinese sellers selling directly on the channel. Yes, this is an issue in the sense that, sometimes those products are fake, or they're counterfeits, or so there's not an easy solve to this, in the sense that, if they are in fact fake or counterfeit products, Amazon's aware of it. They know it's an issue. In fact, you may have seen the recent Wall Street Journal story about it, where the Wall Street Journal, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, they found something like 4,000 counterfeit products on Amazon.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's an incredible story. And look, Amazon they don't want that. They don't want that. Not that they don't want Chinese sellers. That's not the point. They don't want counterfeit or dangerous products on their site. And so they've taken some steps to try to eliminate it, but it's a gargantuan task. Think about it, 600 million products almost on Amazon. And so they're taking steps, and we don't know what all those steps are, but they're taking steps to address that. I would say that, if there's some recourse you have. Amazon has reinforced its Amazon brand registry program with some additional tools to allow brands some recourse if they in fact feel like there's some counterfeit happening on their product. So there's some avenues. Amazon's, there's a lot of process attached to that, so it sometimes can be frustrating. But absolutely, it's something that, I think one estimate I saw was that something like 10% of goods on Amazon are Chinese sellers selling directly. Again, nothing against China or the way that those products are, their rights to sell and et cetera. It's more just and a lot of those products are not counterfeit, but there are, does tend to be a trend there. So it's something that I think we're going to see a lot of additional noise about in the coming couple of years, and Amazon trying to address it more aggressively. That's my point of view on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's important to talk about it here because it's a huge conversation. And like you said, there's no easy solve for it, but in any CEO groups or meetings and folks start talking about this, and there's two parts to it. It could be someone's factory and selling directly. And in that case, maybe that brand helped develop a product or brought a product to life, and all of a sudden the factory just kind of goes right to it. And in that case, you just got to have a strong factory relationship. And there's a few other things that, a brand's going to have to do. But I think it starts with really partnering and having that relationship with the factory. But to the other point with the counterfeit product. That's all. And I agree. I don't know an easy fix there. I do know that, just back to the reviews, when negative reviews are put in there, Amazon isn't always helpful. And because sometimes there's not a way for them to know, I guess.
That's right.
And so, sometimes products can be killed that way because not only does a negative review come in, but then, these people that do it will find ways to upvote it. And sometimes it's so obvious from a brand's perspective that it's a negative one. And I don't know, in that case, is there no other option but maybe to relaunch that product, or are you guys able to kind of work your way around it?
Yeah, well, we've had some cases where we've been able to help companies, with Amazon address some of that. And Amazon is, Amazon will protect the customer review in almost all cases because unless it's something that is it can be very clearly documented is abuse. They have a pro review stance. So in other words, they start with the assumption the review is good, right? We want reviews, even if they're negative. We want reviews. And so in some cases, we've had, some success in talking, if we can document a very clear case, with some folks at Amazon that, there's been occasionally some removal, but it's very, very hard to do. So, you may be better off restarting the product, with a new listing, because, and watching what your competitors are doing. It takes a bit of detective work, to be quite honest with you. Some of these bad actors are really quite sophisticated in how they do it. And it's, it's a battle. And there's no easy solve for it. I wish there was. There isn't. So, it's, it doesn't even necessarily tie to how big a brand you are, or, this has happened to some sizable companies that we work with. So, even the resolution of those can be difficult.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the challenge. So I guess there's challenges in all business, but they're just new ones. These are ones that people haven't seen in the past. And so it's just finding new ways to get through it.
And listen, I do think Amazon is aware of this, and they are taking steps that we all don't know about to try to address these issues. Amazon doesn't want bad actors on the site. Ultimately, they want to be consumer trust is inordinately important to them, and so anything that threatens that is something they're paying attention to.
Yeah, and I think I forget who it was. If it was Target that posted this. But somebody, one of the big retailers, it might have been, I can't remember if it was Target or Walmart, but they made a post about how, the danger of Amazon's endless aisle. It's kind of, it's Amazon's strength. And a lot of these other retailers, that kind of like what I mentioned earlier, they have a lot of gates up, actually. It's hard to get all the products up. And there's a few more filters on the front end before a product gets listed on the site. And, it was just kind of a jab at Amazon, I think, because some counterfeit products got found. So it's so easy to get stuff up.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to Amazon's business model. And, the pro is the 600 million products. The con is the 600 million products.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways, I guess. Listen,
that's right. Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. This has been a really, really informative deep dive on Amazon. I know there's a ton of useful, actionable items here. So, I just wanted to thank you for coming on the podcast today and sharing all these details. And I guess before I let you go, just want to let people know how they can get a hold of you if you want to share that information, and also anything about when your book launch. Oh,
sure. Yeah. Thanks for that, Luke. So, right. So if you're interested in finding out more about NCAB, you can go to NCAB, that's E-N as in Nancy, C-E-I, B as in boy, A.com, NCAB.com. You can also reach out to me at brian@ncaba.com. I'd be happy to talk to you. We offer a free 30-minute consultation on your Amazon presence. If you're on Amazon today, I'd be happy to extend that to any of your podcast listeners. And the book, 2.5 years of work, man. It's been a labor of love. But it's all about B2B e-commerce, including Amazon. I have a whole chapter on Amazon in the book, Amazon Business and all the things they're doing. And then just how to optimize e-commerce for your business if you sell to other businesses. And you can go to the website for the book. It's called $1 Billion B2B E-commerce, 4 words, $1 billion B2B e-commerce. You put a .com at the end, and you can sign up for registration of its release. It'll be out soon. Maybe by the time this podcast airs, you'll be able to order it, but on Amazon.
And there you go. Your first point.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'm sure the book's going to be really successful because I can tell you have a ton of knowledge. So I want to thank you again for joining me on the Page One podcast. And also just want to thank everybody for listening. The podcast is obviously sponsored by Retail Band. And if you guys want to grow your Wayfair or Home Depot presence, and alternatively, or in addition, if you want to work with us on influencer marketing and help products launch quicker, get reviews, get collateral, YouTube videos, and all of those things that are going to grow the brand, grow your product's reach to the consumer. And they're going to help on every channel. They're going to help on your website. They're going to help on Amazon, and they're going to help on all these other channels we're talking about. And at the same time, we can help with the review strategy. And so that's what we do at Retail Band. You can run over to retailband.com and learn more there. Thanks, Brian. It was a pleasure interviewing you and learning about all these things about Amazon, and hope to stay in contact.
Thank you, Luke. It's great being here.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Page One podcast with Luke Peters. If you like our show and want to know more, check out our other segments. Also, please help us out by leaving us a rating on iTunes. Want to learn more about our commerce? Check out www.retailband.com to get more great tips and tricks on how to accelerate your e-commerce sales with the big box retailers.